Candide by Voltaire. Translated and edited by Robert M. Adams. Chapter 1. How Candide was brought up in a fine castle, and how he was driven therefrom. There lived in Westphalia, in the castle of the Baron of Thunder-ten-Tronckh, a young man on whom nature had bestowed the perfection of gentle manners. His features admirably expressed his soul. He combined an honest mind with great simplicity of heart, and I think it was for this reason that they called him Candide. The old servants of the house suspected that he was the son of the Baron's sister by a respectable, honest gentleman of the neighborhood, whom she had refused to marry because he could prove only 71 quarterings, the rest of his family tree having been lost in the passage of time. The Baron was one of the most mighty lords of Westphalia, for his castle had a door and windows. His great hall was even hung with a tapestry. The dogs of his courtyard made up a hunting pack on occasion, with the stable boys as huntsmen. The village priest was his grand almoner. They all called him my lord and laughed at his stories. The Baroness, who weighed in the neighborhood of 350 pounds, was greatly respected for that reason and did the honors of the house with a dignity which rendered her even more imposing. Her daughter, Kunigunda, aged 17, was a ruddy-cheeked girl, fresh, plump, and desirable. The Baron's son seemed in every way worthy of his father. The tutor Pangloss was the oracle of the household, and little Candide listened to his lectures with all the good faith of his age and character. Pangloss gave instruction in metaphysico-theologico-cosmology. He proved admirably that there cannot possibly be an effect without a cause, and that in this best of all possible worlds, the Baron's castle was the best of all castles, and his wife the best of all possible baronesses. It is clear, said he, that things cannot be otherwise than they are, for since everything is made to serve an end, everything necessarily serves the best end. Observe. Noses were made to support spectacles. Hence, we have spectacles. Legs, as anyone can plainly see, were made to be breeched, and so we have breeches. Stones were made to be shaped and to build castles with. Thus, my lord has a fine castle, for the greatest baron in the province should have the finest house. And since pigs were made to be eaten, we eat pork all year round. Consequently, those who say everything is well are uttering mere stupidities. They should say everything is for the best. Candide listened attentively and believed implicitly, for he found Miss Cunégonde exceedingly pretty, though he never had the courage to tell her so. He decided that after the happiness of being born Baron of Thunder-ten-Tronckh, the second order of happiness was to be Miss Cunégonde, the third was seeing her every day, and the fourth was listening to Master Pangloss, the greatest philosopher in the province, and consequently in the entire world. One day, while Kunigunda was walking near the castle in the little woods that they called a park, she saw Dr. Pangloss in the underbrush. He was giving a lesson in experimental physics to her mother's maid, a very attractive and obedient brunette. As Miss Cunégonde had a natural bent for the sciences, she watched breathlessly the repeated experiments which were going on. She saw clearly the doctor's sufficient reason, observed both cause and effect, and returned to the house in a distracted and pensive frame of mind, yearning for knowledge and dreaming that she might be the sufficient reason of young Candide, who might also be hers. As she was returning to the castle, she met Candide, and blushed, and Candide blushed too. She greeted him in a faltering tone of voice, and Candide talked to her without knowing what he was saying. Next day, as everyone was rising from the dinner table, Kunigunda and Candide found themselves behind a screen. Kunigunda dropped her handkerchief. Candide picked it up. She held his hand quite innocently. He kissed her hand quite innocently, with remarkable vivacity and emotion. Their lips met, their eyes lit up, their knees trembled, their hands wandered. The Baron of Thunder-ten-Tronckh passed by the screen, and, taking note of this cause and this effect, drove Candide out of the castle by kicking him vigorously on the backside. Kunigunda fainted. As soon as she recovered, the Baroness slapped her face, and everything was confusion in the most beautiful and agreeable of all possible castles.